You're watching GTV.
Hello, my name is Scott Halazon. We're in Aspen, Colorado at the Grassroots Studio in downtown Aspen. And I'm here with my friend Connie Marlow, also a colleague and community member in Aspen. Connie, we've noticed that there's an interesting event that's taken place, situation in our town. And I think it's taken place all across the country where our young boys, particularly, and girls as well, are being incarcerated. And I know you have some experience and have had some impact. This event's had impact in your life here in the Valley. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, as a mother of 3 children and a 14-year-old boy, I have a lot of concerns about that. And I've also, as a mother, I've been kind of studying human nature from the day my first child was born 20 years ago. And I've really come to understand that human nature and man-made law are oftentimes in conflict with each other. Mm-hmm. I feel that our systems and our child-rearing practices do not honor human nature. And we have a lack of understanding of actually the nature of the universe and human nature.
So how does that come that we're in this modern world and we have a conflict between natural law and man-made law? In my opinion, there's a dichotomy that exists between we roll along in our lives measuring our behavior and the behavior of others by a standard which I call the Donna Reed or Leave It to Beaver standard. We all wear this mask of what we think should be good or what should be correct, and yet at the same time we revere outlaws. Ladies love outlaws, and we revere this kind of bad boy sort of place. So to me, this produces a conflict. It produces a sense of being out of control, and the result is we start to codify our behavior. We start to codify our laws. We start to try and define our behavior to get this in control, these two aspects of how we are in the world. I think the Founding Fathers, in their wisdom, tried to bring a balance between individual freedom, free expression, that we should be safe in our affairs, our papers, our personal effects, our homes, all the rights of the individual, and how we were going to be in the public. And somewhere, they paid a lot of attention to doing that in the Constitution. Somewhere we've gotten away from allowing mitigating circumstances and the heart of the matter of what is our behavior to take place. So I think you're saying the same thing, that there's these extreme places between walking natural law and then trying to walk this illusion, man-made illusion. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, actually, you've come to the crux of it, because universal law, we aspire to all the beauty that universal law affords us, which is an abundant universe where we have what we need, where we have freedom. And that's what we aspire to, and that's what this country was founded on, was all these high ideals, this heart-centered way of dealing with the world. And this Leave It to Beaver, Donna Reed piece tries to align with that, but there's one glitch in the whole thing, and that is our lack of understanding of universal law and how the universe works. So we've actually have a foundation. We've built a house of cards on a false foundation.
What do you mean? How have we done that?
Well, because we don't understand universal law. We don't understand and live our lives by the fact, number one, say that we reap what we sow, that we create our own reality. Quantum physics is proving this scientifically, that the observer affects the observed.
Let me turn this around for a second. When I hear you say we reap what we sow, I think there are a lot of people in our community that would be looking at these boys and say they reap what they sow.
Right, but we have reaped what we have sown in their hearts and their spirits. You see, that's where we're not taking responsibility, okay?
As a community?
Yeah, as a community, as a human race at this point. Because we have created with our doubt, with our lack of understanding of the beauty of the human heart, human nature, of the fact that we are divine beings that came to this planet to walk in perfect balance and perfect beauty, bringing our unique gift to the society, to the world. Instead, when a child is born, it is assumed to be an empty slate that has to be taught to be good and to be okay and to fit in. Whereas if we had the understanding that we had just given birth to a magnificent piece of divine genius, and that we were going to learn from that piece of genius what its needs were, and walk with that so that we could allow that genius to unfold and bring its gift to the planet, rather than trying to tell it, well, I mean, from the get-go, we say, okay, you have to eat now, and this is what you have to eat, and you have to eat all of it. I mean, we start manipulating that spirit from the get-go with our accepted child-rearing practices. And it's my opinion that from birth, when we put that baby in a bassinet by itself, which is accepted child-rearing practice, that we have started the alienation of that child from its spirit, from its heart. It begins to close down and shut off and protect itself. So then, from that moment on, we're trying to put back what we've taken. And we've taken something so crucial that you can't put it back. And so we talk about self-esteem. We have to, someone needs self-esteem. Well, we've taken it away from the get-go. So now we see our boys and our men in particular, because I feel the male heart in particular is violated, because I feel the male heart is a hugely soft, sensitive, loving, nurturing entity, and that the male is even more violated from birth than the female.
On point with that, it's been my experience in grieving work that, and maybe this is universally not so, but it's been my experience that if somebody passes away, that men are oftentimes devastated and have a very hard time coping. And women kind of get on with life, move forward. And it's a place where I think in our society, the sensitivity of the man's heart is not given a place to exercise that expression or to really fully be appreciated for that capacity.
Yes, well, that's what I believe, and that's what I believe we're facing in this country, we're facing in this community with our boys acting out. And
Okay, let's talk about our boys acting out, because specifically in this community, it would be wonderful, and I think I agree with you. You and I have talked about that now is the time. Now is the shift. We go back to Egyptian pharaohs that, or divine right of kings. I'm a king and I'm in touch, and you're peons. The Magna Carta came about. We've been, as human beings, taking our personal power, our individual connection with a higher power. So in that transition, I think America leads the way, or should be leading the way, or can lead the way. And it's the challenge that's in front of us to do that. How are we going to make the shift from a hierarchical communication, a hierarchical way of seeing the world, where I'm right and you're wrong, or one up, one down, to a place where we are honoring one another? I think we're making that shift, but specifically what happens today. In this community, we had a number of young men that participated in events that resulted in their incarceration. What would you do about that circumstance? How can this shift take place? How, as a community, in your opinion, can we respond to events not only here but in other communities where young men are called to task and getting pretty severe sentences?
Well, my piece of this puzzle is the honoring of the human heart and human spirit. going to that child, that person, and saying, what's wrong? You know, why, what has caused you to be angry, defiant? And also, I also feel that, you know, that our laws are so out of sync with human nature. See, this is my piece to bring to the party.
Okay, I'm listening.
Our laws are so out of sync with human nature that they are unjust, that we have unjust laws, and they're actually been created because of our lack of understanding of the nature of the universe. See, I have to just keep getting back to that, because the true nature of the universe is that it is abundant, that everyone has everything they need, want, and desire, and more. Once we understand that that's what the universe wants to give us, there'll be no need to steal. Everyone would have a car that they need. Whatever they needed, they would have. So you wouldn't, these boys stole a car. They stole, you know, whatever. The whole concept of theft would not exist.
So if I hear you correctly, in a nurturing society where people were heard and honored in their individuality, desire to discover as opposed to being told was honored in a way that people grew, that we could engage, I think as the Founding Fathers wanted us to do, or envisioned could happen, in a public forum, in other words, in the street or outside our homes. We could engage in human intercourse on a handshake or from a place of trust, from a place of integrity. So I could make a deal with you, we could agree to do something, I would be knowing my sense of personal abundance, knowing that I was part of the universe, they could be manifested. I think that's
absolutely. In the Constitution, I see the Constitution as a divinely inspired document. And when we cleanse ourselves of our fear-based thinking, that Constitution will flower into the vehicle it was meant to be, and that is a vehicle of profound freedom. And the whole concept of the Bill of Rights, we wouldn't need a Bill of Rights. See, the world I'm talking about is a world where the word rights isn't even a word in the vocabulary, because it's a given. Because we're in balance, we're in our hearts, we're in our understanding of being cared for, being loved, and that we have everything we need, want, and desire, and more than we can ever even fathom.
I agree. And practically speaking, in this event that's taking place in our community, it's my belief that the prosecuting attorney, that the judge, that all the kids, that all the victims, that everybody whose life was impacted by this event, which is a symptom of something else, you know, and we want to talk about that's the big piece. That each one of the individuals that participated in the justice system or the trial all have a positive intention.
Absolutely.
And every one of those people is, to the best of their ability, wanting to speak to this same place.
Absolutely.
What's good for the person, what's good for the community, and how to do that.
Right. Everyone wants to get it. We as Americans, we are, you know, it's in the fiber of our being to serve the public good and to bring this beauty and abundance and this all-American dream that we have. But in my opinion, we can't get there from here. I'm from Maine.
Okay, we'll
Bert
talk
and I
about that.
say, you can't get there from here. Right. And that's a profound statement, because given our basic assumptions about the nature of the universe, which are in fact erroneous in my opinion, we cannot get to this unreachable star. And that's what's in the essence of that song, to reach the unreachable star, because we can reach it, but we have to shift. We are actually coming to understand that the true nature of the universe is actually manifesting itself to us as we walk out the door and run into that person that we needed to talk to, or all these things that we call coincidences in our old belief system, we call it luck, we call it coincidences. We're coming to understand that there's something much bigger.
That everybody has these
Yeah,
moments where it clicks, you're in the zone.
Absolutely, it's becoming more and more
divine, for want of a better term, manifestation, and it's just a good day.
Yeah.
And we all, you know,
Yeah,
we hit those strides, we get a little off balance, we readjust, we get back into them. That part I agree about. And then practically, I know that there are some young men that are in the Department of Corrections right now. And their reality...
They're there to show us.
Okay.
Okay.
So how is that?
They're there to show us that something's wrong. And I believe that they had to do extreme measures so that they would get our attention. And I think that's, frankly, I think that's what Columbine was about. I think that that's what, that this is about, to get our attention, that there's something desperately wrong. And it's the fallout between your Donna Reed Leave It to Beaver model and the freedom piece, the Wild West, the America. I mean, the Pilgrims came here because they wanted to be free. I mean, they were rebels in England. And they said, okay, you know, we're going to walk away from that, and we're going to come.
They would have been criminals in England.
Yeah.
They would have been
Exactly.
incarcerated. They would have been challenged by their
the
very
Robin
behavior.
Hood Prince of Thieves concept, that it's actually a system that's out of balance that causes the true heart to walk out of that and break the law, man-made law.
So you see these events and these individuals who people are going to say, look, they need to take responsibility. There was a problem here. These are the identified patients. It's not us. And what we're going to do to fix this problem is we're going to put the brakes on and bring out a codification and put these people away or meter out punishment.
Yeah, that's what we're doing throughout this country. It's an epidemic in this country.
And what I think I hear you saying is those events took place, but let's look at that there's a message.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let's hear the message as opposed to respond to the mask of what should be good. This is bad. This should be good. And but never really saying, oh, gee, I have you know, in medicine, if something happens, you'd go and say, the person's not bad.
Right.
This little blotch or eruption is a manifestation of a deeper imbalance in the system.
Absolutely.
So let's address that. I think, is that...
Absolutely. And one thing, when we first came to the Hopi Indian Reservation, I'm not a reservation, when we first came upon the Hopi Indians, there was no crime because they were in balance. They have a belief, they have a way of life that's been contaminated now by prevailing belief systems and systems that have been set up since their contact with the white mind. But when we came there was no crime. Crime is not a given. We accept it as a given. It has been created by our beliefs and by the systems we've put in place that arise out of our beliefs. Case in point, the concept of possessions.
Well, let's bring it to, again, modern times. I was born in Gunnison, and I recently had an opportunity to talk to a family friend of ours who was a teacher in that community. And I said, you know, we're going to do this event. Connie and I are working on this. Did you ever have those things happen in Gunnison in the 20s or 30s? And he said, oh, yeah. We had some boys that were way out of control, and eventually the judge said, we're going to put these boys on probation, and he gave them 3 male monitors or mentors in the communities, my family friend being one of them. And he said, it took us some time, but all those boys have grown up to be members of the community.
Yeah.
And didn't spend a whole bunch of time being lost to the community, but we engaged, and we did that. So I think there's a big tradition of this behavior, acting out behavior, that we don't see, that we all accept, and yet when it gets out of control, of a way to do it that's more in touch with the community, more engaged with the community. I don't know who steps up in this community to respond to that. I think a lot of people are trying. What's your view? What do you see?
Well, frankly, my piece, I reiterate, my piece isn't after a crime has been committed, after a problem, because my piece is getting at why we have a problem in the first place, why we have a situation in the first place. And I feel that until we go to that very fundamental place of shifting our understanding of the nature of the universe, that everything else is a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage, that we cannot stop the hemorrhage with a Band-Aid. So, you know, that's just the piece that I'm bringing in. And I was saying, you know, the concept of possessions. Okay, the concept of possessions creates theft. If you don't have a concept of possessions, like in the native way, you're using something. It's your turn to use it. And ultimately, there's somebody else that has a turn with that thing. Like if I have somebody likes my necklace, and they know in their heart that it's their turn for this necklace, they indicate that to me. They say, tell me, I like your necklace. And I go, oh, I understand. It's your turn now. And I take it off, and I give it to you. You see?
Very out of the box.
That's out of the box, except it's traditional native thought. It's how native people have lived for eons. And this is, you know, in an instant like that, you don't have to come into my house and steal this. Mm-hmm. Because it's not mine.
And as much
Nothing
as that
is mine.
sounds
And the whole concept of land title. We have a whole culture built on land title, right?
Private property.
Private property.
Private property rights.
Well, yeah. Well, we don't own anything.
You know, yet
you see,
yet we also have a tradition of sharing. People share.
Right.
And we do that even in these modern times. We help out friends, we lend people cars, we share our stuff, phones, people come and stay. So we know something about that even though we think we don't.
Right.
And we measure again by this other yardstick and we behave by this different yardstick. And we need to bring those two places in balance. And I know we're coming close to where we're going to unfortunately not be able to continue on our dialogue as we always like to do. And knowing that, I want to acknowledge that you often walk the edge of changing this paradigm, and that you raised your children in a different way and had the conviction and the power or personal connection. I mean, you took a risk and took your son out of school, for example, and raised your son differently out of the paradigm. Maybe you don't want to talk about that, but I think it's a big example that you did that.
Number one, I didn't take my son out of school. My son dropped out of school out of first grade. I honored him because I had an understanding about the nature of the universe, that he was in fact a gift, and that the universe would bring him everything he needs to become that gift, that he didn't have to sit in that first grade classroom feeling stupid because he didn't read like the little girls next to him, and being told that he had to show up and do what the teacher said so that he could survive ultimately as an adult. I had an understanding, so when he came to me and said, Mom, my feelings tell me I don't belong here, I could honor that. And the concept of risk, see, isn't in my vocabulary. It doesn't exist. I walk in total trust of a loving universe. I know that this universe...
You were able to receive that information in trust and hear
and act in total trust. And he left school, and he was not homeschooled. We turned him over to the universal energies, that life was going to teach him, that the energies were going to bring him everything he needed to become his genius. And someone could say that's risk, but see, if you have the word risk in your vocabulary, you can't go there.
Okay.
Because I'm talking total trust. And what has happened for my son has been magnificent. It's out of the paradigm of, well, basically, you get what you pay for paradigm. He's manifested a tutor, a companion that we couldn't, you can't describe in the you get what you pay for paradigm.
And what do you mean by get what you pay for?
Well, because I'm trying to delineate the difference between you get what you pay. Time is money paradigm that we live in, that we're prisoners of, basically, that we think is the only game in town. There's another paradigm, another way of being, and that's the place where you get what money can't buy. What you can't, you can't even understand it. In this paradigm, you can't even comprehend what comes to you when you leave that paradigm and walk into the giving and receiving paradigm, that you're either sharing paradigm. And there's a whole nother world out there just outside of our belief.
So you think, and I agree with you, that the heart of the matter is a palpable, concrete activity. It's real.
It's real.
And it may not fit up on a spreadsheet or in an accountant's set of books, but yet it's there. And it's as palpable as those numbers, and it's as palpable as any kind of codification or laws that restrict the balance of our heart.
Absolutely.
And if we get in touch with that, as we are getting in touch with that, we will be freed to be the people that the Constitution encouraged us to be.
Absolutely.
And my belief is that we lead the world in that expression.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, the laws actually expand themselves when you walk out there into this place of trust. The laws actually shift. And actually, these numbers that you're talking about, I believe that we have a bottom line based economic system. And I believe that that's strangling the abundant universe, that this whole counting thing, that dropping out to the bottom line, that if we shift to the top line,
abundance takes place.
Yeah, that the bottom line will be places we couldn't even fathom. That if we go to the top line and we put in trust, love, integrity, inspiration, generosity, we put those in, truly do that, truly walk in trust of each other and the abundance and the loving nature of the universe, that the bottom line will go places we can't even fathom.
Well, I think we've hit the bottom line. Connie, it's always great to be able to sit and talk with you, and I really enjoy our exchanges. Yeah, I get a lot from them, and I'm sure everybody that watched our interaction gets a lot too.
Well,
I look forward to our forum that we're going to do.
Do some more.
Let's do some more.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
A time for community. Exploring the heart of the matter of our boys, our children, our future. A panel and open forum on February 22nd at the Aspen Youth Center at 12 noon. Come to speak, come to listen. Bring a vision, a thought, a perspective, and experience.